I'm a big fan of horror movies, but no matter how much I love seeing a new interesting concept, I'm still not exactly used to being terrified when watching a truly scary scene.
Pablo, por favor, baja la cámara de ahí, se oyen cosas muy raras, hostia.
Here's one from recent memory from the great movie Weapons, directed by Zach Cregger. It's slow to begin with, but also not enough to make you feel bored. You're just there watching, waiting, while the camera slowly pans to the right. And I think I'm beginning to realize that my favorite kind of scenes are sort of the ones where you're just lulled into whatever's happening, where you are just there, present in the scene's events, even though you know you're helpless to do anything. Because there's something about watching characters without any dialogue that does this, how it also heightens your attention to the visuals, while you sit with either music or just silence, observing the characters at play in an unsuspecting way. And as we follow Julia Garner asleep in her car, we realize we're in a scene where she's been watching the house across the road for some time, hoping to get a glimpse at what could be going on. But then now we become the watchers, and worse, it's dark. And as the camera pans slowly, it next does something that I rarely see these days in movies, with being a slow zoom and a deep one at that, following and getting closer to the house in question. I think the zoom shot is so underrated and often underutilized because there's just something about the zoom effect that feels so dynamic to me. Yes, it's used to emphasize details or to add a comedic effect, but here in this scene, it feels more unnerving, more alive, like it's searching for something in this dark, cold, closed house. It feels like it knows something that we don't, like it's moving in on something which clearly isn't moving itself, until eventually the door opens, and when it does so, still there's no sound. When usually the sound of a creaking door would send an uneasy feeling down your spine, now you're just watching this door open silently, and it almost feels just as uneasy, if not even more so, like something unnatural. You watch and scan with your eyes frantically, waiting to see something appear, but the silence continues both orally and visually, until finally the villain appears. I remember watching this the first time thinking, 1, what the hell is going on? And 2, I know I'm meant to be terrified and I just was, and now it's sort of suddenly kind of funny, which is so strange because it's like this bizarre twist. This walk that this villainous character does is intentionally weird and unnatural, and while it's disturbingly abstract in one sense, it's also confusingly comical. It's like a walk that's meant to look stupid, but then suddenly the fear returns again as you realize what she's holding, a pair of giant scissors. And worst, she's coming even closer and closer until she stops and looks at her victim for a few moments. For a second, you wonder if she'll wake up from her sleep, but she doesn't. And what happens next is truly the most horrifying few moments of the entire film. There's nothing that can do the justice of the feeling of me being in total dread, suddenly putting my fingers up in front of my hands as I watched this entire scene unfold from here. The genius of it isn't just the perfect setup or the tense build-up, but also the way it concludes in that this camera, this entire point of view of Julia Garner doesn't change whatsoever. It's fixed from start to finish. Nothing but a pan back and forth and a zoom in and out. And like the audience watching what's happening, the camera and our point of view is frozen. We cannot escape. And for those brief few moments, I was anticipating the absolute worst case scenario. And instead of giving into what our minds are already imagining, all the tension gets faded again. Like the walk of a mad lady that eased us into a strange comical feeling, the villain just simply cuts the person's hair, grabs a strand, and walks out again. A moment of madness and sheer horror captured all in the space of 2 minutes. We may have been flies on the wall for the entirety of it, but it felt like we were right there in that car awaiting to receive the worst of it. Easily the scariest scene from the film, and even though it had a strange flavor of comedic moments about it, that tension that it created was just so culpable and real to me. Truly something unique and terrifying, and just a masterful stroke of writing and direction from Zach Cregger, with an equally fantastic performance from Cary Christopher.